What's going on, Heartway? How y'all living today? I know this is an announcement, but you guys, those that are new here, we have this thing. When I come up, I can't get the woo, woo, it's like little woohoos. All right, I need a collective woohoo. I'm not just teaching this message, all right? You guys are with me doing this together, all right? So we're going to try this again, all right? You guys ready? All right, we ready? You sure you're ready? All right. Oh, you guys waiting on me? All right. Good morning, Heartway! Hey, that's what I'm talking about. For those that don't know, my name is Clifford, and it is truly, as I say it, and I will keep saying it, it is an honor. It's an honor to be able to share today's message. It is an honor to be a vessel, to be able to allow God to speak through me to you. And so we're going to continue the series called Turning Point, Waiting on God. So a little bit of a sidebar. So last night, got done rehearsing with the message. My wife was listening, or she was doing her hair and stuff, and she was just like, it was good. And I'm like, it was good. And something inside of me was like, it was all right. I'm missing something, right? But I'm like, nope, it's good. I'm leave it here. This is where it's at. So wake up this morning, and God is in my ear. Like, you need to add this. There's something you need to add in here. And I'm like, but I don't want to get up. I don't want to open up my laptop and add something else. And he's like, no, you need to get up, because if you don't get up, you're not going to remember it. And I'm like, but I'm comfortable. I'm in the covers. And it's warm. And he's like, you need to go ahead and get up, because I want you to add this in this message. And if you are a vessel for me, then you need to get up. And I got up. And so there's a part that's in here, and I'll tell you where it's at, where God wanted to make sure that I added in this morning. So we're going to continue the turning point, waiting on God. You see, the thing and the idea of waiting on God is something that we don't necessarily like to do. Anybody like waiting? Anybody like waiting? Huh? Yeah, I didn't think so, right? So the thing about waiting is the inevitable twists and turns and how we wait. You see, life is going to have those twists and turns. If you didn't know that, I'm sorry I had to be the one to tell you, but you will have twists and turns in your life. How many of you are waiting on something from God? How many of you are praying for, whether it's a promotion, whether it's a new relationship, whether it's the healing of your body or healing of a relationship, or maybe you're waiting on that soulmate, that love of your life, that person that you're like, they complete me. All of us are going to go through the waiting period. As I started to prepare for today's message, I started to think about someone that knew a lot about waiting. And that someone was Joseph, the son of Jacob. You know, Jacob, the one that when they say praying to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Yeah, that Jacob. You see, his son, Joseph, was the youngest of 11 brothers. That's a lot of brothers. Listen, that is a lot. And they didn't even talk about the girls. That's just a lot of kids in general, right? So Joseph was the youngest. And in the scriptures, it says that he was his father's favorite. Now, I'm a parent of two, right? Running around talking about you got a favorite. When you got that many kids, it is bound to create some level of animosity. It's bound to create some turmoil within that. And then Joseph was a snitch. Right? Because Joseph would go and tell his father everything that his brothers were doing. Now, I don't know about your household, but my household, snitches get stitches, right? So we don't snitch, right? And so, but Joseph was like, no, I'm going to go tell daddy. I'm going to go tell daddy. And that's what he did. He kept going to tell his daddy. And so, of course, his brothers started to dislike him. Actually, in the scriptures, it says they hated him. And to make matters worse, one day Joseph went to bed, had a dream. And in his dream, he saw a vision where all of his brothers and his mom and his dad were going to be bowing down to him. So Joseph, in his young teenage wise years, said, I'm going to go tell my brothers this dream that I had. So he went to his brothers telling them about this dream. And they're like, so you telling me that we're going to bow down to you? You think that made them love him a little bit more? No, they hated him. And so one day the father sent the 10 of the brothers off to be able to tend to the sheep and go into town. And I guess they were taking a little bit long, so he sent Joseph to go find out, right, what's going on. He's the snitch. He's going to come and report back what's happening, right? But the brothers saw him, and the brothers said, you know what? Listen, there's our father's favorite. He's coming in the distance. We see him. You see, the reason why they were able to recognize him is because his father loved him so much, he even had a special robe made just for him, made of the finest linens and decked out with jewels. So, of course, they see this coming towards him. So they said, let's plot to kill him. Let's plot to get rid of him, this favorite. And we can just say that he was torn up by wolves and animals. You see, when there's something about that aura that's on you that God has given you, it causes people not to like you. But that's okay. So as Joseph started to approach, one of the brothers said, no, listen, I don't want his blood on my hands. So let's just throw him in an empty cistern and sell him into slavery. And so that's what they did. They sent him into slavery. And so Joseph was sold to Potiphar, who was the head of Pharaoh's army at the time. And so as Joseph started to work, what Potiphar started to realize is that there's something different about this young man. There's something different. Everything that he does it with excellence. He does it as if he's doing it unto God. And so as the situation would be something bad for Joseph, God was with him during that time. And so Joseph started doing everything right. And Potiphar said, I'm going to put you in charge of all affairs according to my household. Everything that is happening in my house, you will be in charge of. All of the men that needs assistance, you will be in charge of, because there was something on Joseph. But one day, as fate would have it, Potiphar's wife started to see this handsome young man, this tall glass of water, and she needed her thirst quench, if you know what I mean, right? So she goes to Joseph and say, hey, listen, why don't you and I, take part in an entanglement? Joseph said, listen, I am so sorry, but I am a man of God, and your husband has put me in charge of everything under his household for me to be able to touch and make sure everything is right, but not touch you. And so it would be wrong for me to do that. And so Joseph walked away. But, listen, when a woman has her eyes set on something, she's not going to be easily swayed to stop. Right. And so she decided to keep pressing and pressing and pressing. And so one day, as Joseph was doing his chore, she walked into the room and tried to grab him. He was like, listen, I got to go. He bolted, left his robe there. And guess what? She said, listen, this young man tried to take advantage of me. Potiphar, you brought this man into our house. And so Potiphar, as a good husband, did what he was supposed to do. He put that man in jail. So as Joseph was in jail and he was doing things the way he was supposed to do, even though he had something that he did not do, he was in a bad situation again. It was another time where things didn't go the way that he wanted them to go. So he started doing things in the prison just as his father would want him to do. He did them the right way. He did them as if he was doing them unto God. And so then the head of the guard, put him in charge of everything that was happening within the prison. You see, when there's something on your life, there's nothing that can cover it up. You see, when God has put a light inside of you, everyone will see it. When God has put his presence inside of you, everyone will feel that presence. So while Joseph was in prison, he ran into the cupbearer and the Pharaoh's baker in there. And so one night they went to sleep, and both of them had dreams respectively. The cupbearer had a dream of something, and then the baker, and they couldn't understand what it meant. So they went to Joseph, and Joseph said, listen, I can interpret your dreams for you. So the baker went, and the baker's like, well, here's my dream. And Joseph says, well, I know exactly what that dream means. It means in 3 days that you will be impaled. You will die in 3 days. I'm sorry, if I got to get an interpretation, that's not the one I want, okay? But then the cupbearer went to Joseph and told him his dream. He said, your dream means that you will be reinstated to your honor. You will be the Pharaoh's cupbearer once again. And so in 3 days, everything happened just as Joseph said. But Joseph told him, he said, listen, when you get back to your position, cupbearer, please don't forget me. Please tell the Pharaoh that I'm in here and I didn't do anything wrong so that way he can let me go. Please don't forget me. So it says some time passed. Actually, it says 2 years passed, talking about being forgotten. The Pharaoh had a dream and nobody could understand it. I mean, he called everybody from far and wide, all the wise men of his kingdom, and no one could understand. You see, because when God has put something specific inside of you, the only person that can bring that one specific thing to life is you. And so know that when you have a calling and there's something that's supposed to be birthed inside of you, that you are the one to bring that to life because he put it inside of you, no one else. So that cupbearer goes to the Pharaoh. He says, listen, I am sorry, but I fell short of a commitment that I made. There's this young man named Joseph that's in the prison that he told me not to forget him. And I did. And he interpreted my dreams and they happened just as he said they would. So the Pharaoh sent for him immediately. And so he comes and he tells the Pharaoh exactly what his dream meant. You see, life will have its twists and turns. There's no coincidence with God. There's no happenstance. You see, because when there's a calling on your life, there's nothing that anybody else can do to stop what is supposed to be for you. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story, about a little bit of my twists and turns. I was born in Columbus, Georgia, so that means I'm a Georgia boy, right? So that means I have a little bit of country slang, but a little bit of city proper. So if you listen long enough, you may hear me say something like right chair or something like that, but just work with me. I have this thing that's inside of me that makes me unique, just as God has put something unique inside of you. I grew up and went through all different kinds of challenges, from being in a car accident at the age of 6, where a car hit my door at 67 miles per hour, but God, that I only had a few scratches on my head and some bruised kidneys. I was okay. I've gone through some things. I've seen some things that I probably should not have seen. I've experienced things that people twice my age have not had to experience. Life will have those twists and turns. Waiting sucks, right? I've prayed for things over time. God, why don't you make this happen right now? You are the God of it all. What is the harm in making it happen right now? Why can't you just stop and just do what you do right now? Don't wait for later. Waiting sucks. And waiting sucks not just because of the time, but because of the crap that you got to go through. You see, but if you don't go through some stuff, then you can't grow through some stuff. And if you can't grow through some stuff, then you'll remain a seedling in a forest of giants. You see, you have to go through some things. And truth be told, I'd rather go through some things while waiting on God than not. Stephen Furtick put it best. He said, the only thing harder than waiting on God is wishing that you had. But I know you're standing there or you're sitting there in your chairs, but Cliff, like, this weight is heavy. I've been carrying this thing around for so long. I've been asking God to make a move and make a shift with this turning point in my life, but he just won't do it. You see, Cliff, I can't get up out of my bed without forcing myself to be able to make it another day. This load is heavy. You know, the strange thing, well-intentioned, people will say, you got this. You got this. You can do this. Truth be told, some days I don't want it. Some days I'm like, I don't want to have it. I don't want this burden of dealing with these situations. I don't want to have this lack in need of a financial breakthrough or healing in my life. I don't want to have it. I'd rather just give it back. Listen, let's return this back to sender. I don't need this in my life. You hear that you're strong enough. That's all great, but sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I am weak. Sometimes truth be told, I'd rather just be weak. I'd rather just be able to sit down in a corner and let things happen as they may and just retract back into myself and just relax there, because at least if I'm just by myself, then I know that I can control that little environment right there. Everything else I can't control. Everything else I can't make an impact. Everything else is just not going the way that I thought it was supposed to go. But this is why community is so strong. Take a second and look at the person right next to you. Take a second and look around this room. You see the importance of a community and why I smile every time I get a chance to come up here and see your faces, because you guys are my community. Whether you just met me or whether you have known me for a long time, you are my community. There's nothing you can do about it. You see, because it's in this community where your doors may be opened. It is in this community where your life can be impacted. You never know, the person that's sitting right next to you could be the gatekeeper to an opportunity. That person right next to you could be that person that's supposed to help shift and move things out of the way so that way you can step right into everything that God has in store for you. But a lot of times we want to keep it to ourselves. We want to keep it locked in and not share what our hopes and our dreams are. Because if you keep it locked in, then it's safe and it's right there. I can control it. Nobody can take this away. Nobody can hurt this. Now, granted, I'm not telling you to share everything with everybody, because everybody don't need to be on your journey. Everybody can't handle the vision that God has put inside of you. Everybody can't handle that big, hairy, audacious goal of impacting our world. Everybody can't take that. And you, truth be told, there's just some haters out in the world, right? But don't let that stop you. Pray for discernment. Pray for God to be able to give you wisdom that you can be able to tell that those that are for you versus those that are against you. Now, every negative word or what seems to be a negative word may not be a negative word. Maybe it's just to be able to give you some motivation. You can't control the people around you, but you control how you receive that information. You can control that perspective. Some of the times as you go through this and you're waiting on God, you get upset. You get frustrated. You start to cry. You start to get angry and ask God, what are you doing? Why are you just waiting? Why are you not answering my prayers right now? Why must we continue to go through these losses or take these L's on all these different opportunities? Why bring them to me anyway? Why show me what I want, but I can't touch it? It's right outside of my grasp. Why must everybody else be prospered and get into the things that they've been praying for, but I'm still sitting here without my prayer answered? Truth be told, God can handle your anger. He can handle you being upset. He can handle your tears. He can handle yelling at him. He's not moved, so be okay. Feel free to open up. You know what he loves? Is that you turn into him and not to something else. So open up and be honest with God. Open up and be honest with yourself that you're not okay right now. Open up and just say right now, in this moment right now, I'm not good. So when somebody asks you, how are you doing today? If it's somebody that you can trust, then say, you know what? I'm not good. I'm still walking, but I'm not good right now. Maybe I need to go to coffee and have a moment to be able to let out with you. Do you mind? Sometimes we get so caught up and tied up that we don't want to impose on anybody or affect their day and burden them with the things that we're going through. Then what's the point of having community? Jesus had 12 disciples. You think you don't need at least one person? Somebody to be able to confide in, somebody to be able to be there and hold your hand and walk with you. You think you don't need just a little bit? Because if you don't, You're going to be sitting up there wondering. You're going to wonder why God is taking so long by yourself. And I don't know about you, but there's not a thing in this world that you can do by yourself. And then when you're by yourself, doubt creeps in, telling you why you can't do it. Why are you even thinking that this is something that you're supposed to do? Why do you even think that you have the ability and it's capable to do this? And God knows how to allow certain people to come in and be that chatter in your ear. Those friends, those followers, those that like your pictures but won't call you on your birthday. They may send a happy birthday via Instagram or Facebook or something, but they're not the ones that call you. See, there's a difference. See, that's already my meter. If you can just send me a message through social media, all right, I got you. You're right here. But if you sent me a message and then also you text me or you call me, all right, listen, okay. That's my meter. I don't know about y'all. You better get yours. But then doubt, after doubt comes in, then anxiety. Now, I don't know about you. In my life, I have never had to deal with anxiety. But over these last 3 to 4 years, this thing has been banging on my door. He's like, listen, let me in. Listen, you can't do this. What you doing? Listen, they're going to say this about you. They're going to say that about you. Anxiety has been like creaking in the door, and I'm doing everything I can to hold that door closed. But then guess what? I was able to take my hand down, and God put his hand on that door. He closed and he held that door closed. You see, as things in life starts to beat you up, waiting on God gets a little bit easier when you start to trust him. So I got a question for you. Do you trust him? Do you trust him to be able to handle the things that you're going through? Do you trust him enough to be able to handle when you're not happy? Isaiah 40:31 says, but those who trust in the Lord will find new strength. They will soar high on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not faint. How are you waiting? Are you waiting like kids on a road trip? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? We have just pulled out of the driveway. We haven't got there yet. Talking about, I just prayed 3 minutes ago, God. I just prayed 3 minutes ago. Where we at? What? Huh? Are we almost done? We're almost done. We ready? We ready? We ready to do this? That's how we wait sometimes. Granted, things take long. Maybe you've been waiting for a day. Maybe you've been waiting for a year. Maybe you've been waiting for a decade. But how have you been waiting? How have you shown God that you trust him? Psalms 27:14 says, wait patiently for the Lord. Be brave and be courageous. Yes, wait patiently for the Lord. I got 3 ways that you should wait. The first, wait in prayer. Prayer is a powerful tool. Prayer is something that the underworld or the devil or whatever you want to call it is afraid of. You see, because prayer, it unlocks doors. Prayer is the reason why I'm up here on this stage. Prayer is the reason why I have a beautiful wife and 2 beautiful kids, and I have my mother-in-law here. Prayer is why my family, the core of our family, my mom, my sister, my brother-in-law, everyone, prayer is the reason why we have a bond that is unbreakable. Prayer is the reason why each one of you are sitting here right now, because somebody has prayed for you. There's a song that I grew up to. See, you heard me say growed up. I don't growed up. That's that country came out. There was a song when I was a young kid and I was growing up in Fort Pierce, and they would sing this song that prayer is the key. Your faith unlocks the door. And then there was another song that somebody prayed for me. You're not here by chance. You're not here to allow life to happen. You're here to live it. You're here to allow those things that is deep down inside of you, that thing that has been bothering you and twisting you and urging you to get started, is to bring that thing to life, to give birth to that new opportunity, that thing that God wants you to become. You see, if you just go to him in prayer, he'll speak to you. Just like this morning, when I was trying to figure out how I was going to make this change, I was in my time of prayer. He spoke to me in that moment to be able to say that this is what you need to give to my people. So seek him. He will answer. Sometimes as you're starting to go through life and you're new to your faith, he will use other people to come and give you what you need. Other times, as you start to mature, he'll send people every now and then for confirmation, but he'll speak to you. He'll speak to you in that still, quiet voice. If there's been this voice in your head and you've been trying to turn it down, that's probably him. Don't turn God down. Turn yourself down and turn him up. When you talk about an equalizer from a mixing part for our tech team, you see they work very hard to ensure that the sound is right and it's coming to us so that way it's audible and it's correct. So that way when we receive it, it has the greatest impact. Turn yourself down and turn God up. The next way I want you to wait. I want you to wait in worship. You see, we have an amazing worship team here. So when I've talked to our worship team before and I was telling them, I was like, you guys have the ability to be able to break down the barriers. You see, there's one thing you cannot do. You cannot hide during worship. You cannot hide the things that have been bothering your soul, because there's something about music and God mixed together. It is that barrier breaker. It pulls down all those walls. And then we go right into announcements and give hugs. You're like, I'm trying to build this wall back up, but it ain't coming up fast enough. Go to God in worship. Be in your car worshiping. You can be walking down the street. Act like you got Bluetooth on. You even got to have it. Just be singing. It's hands-free, you know. Sing and give God praise. Give him praise because he deserves praise. Give him praise because he is worthy of your love. Give him praise because of all the things that he has already done. Give him praise because he is doing things right now. Give him praise for the things that he will do. Give him praise because he's going to be with you while you're waiting. Lastly, wait in service. I saw this quote. It says, if you're waiting on God, do what waiters do. Serve. If you go and you start to serve people in your community, in your county, around you, your friends and your family, you'll be amazed at what God will do for you. Go and give a person what you've been praying for. Be that to them. And see, will God not show up in an amazing way in your life? I'm not saying that he will answer right then and there, but when you do that, when you have this heart of service, what God is going to do will help the waiting become an appreciation for the right now. Just like Ryan said in his in centering prayer, as if right now is not enough. God may be asking you, is right now enough? I know I got something I'm working on you on, and I'm getting ready to prepare for you, but is it not enough right now? Is my grace not sufficient? Can you not find comfort and rest right now? You have to be able to wait in service. So go and be the hands and feet of God. Go and impact our world. Go and make a difference that your light is shone no matter where you go. You should be able to have a heart of love and kindness that when you leave a room, your presence is still impacting people. For you, for me, I go back to the story of Joseph. Joseph became aside from Pharaoh, the most important and powerful person in all the land. He trusted God. He waited correctly. And he was placed in a power. And truth be told, as the story, got to go finish reading the story, his brothers and his families did bow down to him. You see, the calling that was on Joseph's life wasn't just about Joseph. He not only saved his family from a famine, he not only saved his people from a famine, he saved all of Egypt. He saved a kingdom. Maybe some of us may not be here if it wasn't for Joseph. And I tell you the same thing. There's something inside of each of you that's not just meant for you. It's meant to impact our world. We all see what is happening in our world. We're getting ready to go in. We're in election season. Yeah. And there's this side, and left and right, and north and south, and east and west, and all these different sides. I'm on God's side. My perspective is God's perspective. I'm voting for God. I'm voting for Jesus. And the only way I'm going to actually make that happen is being like him. So be that love and be that difference maker, because you never know what God put inside of you. As for me, I've been through a lot. We've been praying over a lot of different things, but I ain't giving up. I ain't giving up. Listen, I don't care too far. I need to see what's on the other side. I need to see how all of that we went through over here, that pot of hot mess. I need to see what this thing that God has prepared for me. And I want the same for you. So I challenge you, don't give up today. Don't give up tomorrow. As it will be hard, you better call somebody right next to you. You better pull me or Pastor Danny aside and be like, I just need you to pray with me. I need you to just stand with me and believe with me, because I can trust in you, because God has given me something that I know I have to birth. So don't give up. Can we make that commitment today? Yes. We got like 3 people. We're going to try this again. All right. On the count of 3, we're going to say, don't give up. 1, 2, 3. Don't give up. Hey! God just used that little man right there. Look around and look at the smiles on your face. God says, let the kids come, right? It's so much wisdom, and you think as adults it's supposed to just come through us. It's through kids like that. So open your heart and your mind to receive what God has in store for you. I love you guys to death, right? Ain't nothing you can see. There it is again. There's nothing you can do about it. I hope today's message will encourage you to continue to fight the good fight, to continue to have faith. We will go through turning points in our life, good and bad. And while we wait on God, wait with a heart of love. Let us pray. Lord, we come to you with grateful hearts. We come to you knowing that you have a plan for our life. We know that all things work together for your good. We know that you love us because you created us. Lord, we are clay in your hands. Continue to mold us, mold our life circumstances, mold the people around us, for that we can go out and impact this world that you have given us. Help us to be able to be a light that shines so bright that nothing can cover it. Help us just to be able to love the way you've called us to love, to go out and just serve and worship your name. Help us to be able to spread the good news about how much you love each of us. Help us just to be able to be all that you called us to be. Bless every person in this room. Bless their hearts and their minds. Help them to feel confident, not in their own capabilities, but in yours. That when we are weak, you are strong. We are made perfectly in your image. We ask this in your son, Jesus' name we do pray. Amen. All right, that's it. We made it. We made it. I love you guys. It's raining. Be careful out there and go change the world.